Hello, Tanisha.
Hello, sir.
Oh, directly here. Uh, Thank you, madam. Why this doesn't go up? One minute, please, people. I do not like when this interferes. I guess when this panel is there, the video panel on the side, on the full screen mode, you don't see those words, right? Am I right?
We can see the words, but we don't see the video panel.
You can't see the video panel, but you can see the word. Okay. Okay, so for me it's not visible then. Fine. And then I leave it as it is. I know the words. So in the last class, we had looked at few additional concepts in terms of genetics. We had re-looked at the terms phenotype, genotype, and we had looked at what is monohybrid cross. Yeah, and we had looked at what are those inherited characteristics in humans, and out of those, which ones are the dominant ones. And also in a way we looked at these three terminologies, that is incomplete dominance, polygenic nature of the alleles or genes, and what is epistasis. Now I guess I'm not sure if I finished this slide in your class, because one of the class I had finished this. Was it yours?
So we were discussing, no, we didn't finish. We were discussing why did Mendel choose peas. We finished the reasons for choosing Pisum Sativa.
So these 3 points were covered then.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means most of this was done. So I will just start from revision of this with these 3 reasons why Mendel chose Pisum sativum. So first reason was obviously the available alternative forms of the character. That means for one particular characteristic there was an alternate option, and he also had a true breed, that is the purest form of the breed. And I had also explained what does it mean by a pure form in taking that Indo-Aryan race example. Yeah, so because it was available in alternative form and it was also available in the purest form, that can breed true. And the third reason was self pollination was possible, but if at all the cross pollination has to happen, that can also be done using this Pisum sativum plant. And that's why he had chosen this like for these 3 main reasons he had chosen this pea plant. And I had also explained this term of emasculation, which is removal of the male reproductive parts from the flower of a plant. So that is the emasculation, which is specifically done for certain purposes when you want to avoid the self pollination. So those were the 3 main reasons. Then of course 7 pair of contrasting characters we have had a look at it. What are those 7 characters? You can go back to the slides and check what those characteristics are. Now the most important thing Mendel did was he tried to cross the pure breeds which are dominant as well as recessive, that is a monohybrid cross. And he also did experiments with dihybrid cross. Now let me take an example of dihybrid cross here. I will try to explain before we go into the Mendel's experiment. So what usually happens is, if we take a tall plant and a short plant, and they are purest in each of their own alleles, that means capital TT will be for the tall plant, that is the purest allele, and short TT or small TT, that is for the short plant, that is a purest recessive allele for this particular plant. And if they are bred together, that is a monohybrid cross, that is crossing of one feature. Tallness or shortness, this is one feature. That means one feature as in a trait is height of the plant, that is one feature. It can have 2 effects, either tall or short, but the feature or a trait is one, that is height of the plant. Similarly, In dihybrid cross, now let's say you take height of the plant and you also take a color of the flower. That means you are taking two features together. So obviously in height of the plant, you will have a tall plant or a short plant. And in case of color of the flower, you will have purple flower or white flower, right? So that becomes four different phenotypes. In one character or one trait, you have two phenotypes. So for example, again, for the character of height of the plant, that is a trait, you will have two phenotypes, either a tall plant or a short plant, right? So now if you add one more trait or one more characteristic, physical characteristics or phenotype, that is flower color, then you have two more additional phenotype, that is either a white flower or the purple flower. And when you allow these two traits crossing together, that is known as dihybrid cross. We will see those examples, but I felt in short I should briefly explain it here what a dihybrid cross is. Yeah, so that di word is coming from two physical or the phenotypes or the features or characteristics. That is what is dihybrid. Monohybrid, only one trait. Dihybrid, two different traits. So, and of course he tried all the possible combinations of the 7 features, that is crossing a plant for each of those specific phenotype and then checking the future generation. So that was the basics of the Mendel's experiment. Now case 1, we are going to look at individual cases, like whatever experiments he would have tried. Out of these, I guess we are going to see only 3 of them, because the rest 3 you can simply imagine them. So a pure breeding plant bearing terminal flower. Now if you remember, one of the trait, I will go back to that slide, one of the trait here, that was the flower location. It has either axial flower or the terminal flower. Terminal, I said, it comes at the end of the branch, and the axial one, that comes from where the leaf arises. That's the axial one. Axial means nothing but along the axis, right? Terminal means at the end, along the axis or at the end. So that was the flower location as a trait, and there were these two phenotypes. So a pure breeding plant bearing a terminal flowers. So that means all the flowers in that particular plant were at the terminal location at the end of the branch, was cross-pollinated with, that means it was crossed with a pure breeding plant with axillary flower or axial flowers. Now here is another example that is given. I hope you can see this yellow thing is a flower which is axial, and terminal means at the end of the branch you will have this terminal flowers. So that's how it would look like. So purest breed of the terminal flower crossed with purest breed of the axial flowers. Those two plants, they are cross-pollinated or crossed with each other. Now the resulting seeds after sowing produced all plants with axial flowers. So this was the first generation, that is also called as parent generation. So whatever seeds were produced after crossing these two terminal and axial flowers, those seeds, when they were sowed further, then it produced all the plants with axial flowers and none bearing the terminal flowers. Though one of the parent had axial flower, in the offspring generation, none of the plants, they had what did I say? The resulting seeds sowing produced all the plants with axial flower only. So none of the plant produced terminal flowers. Again, the reason would be the dominance of a particular phenotype. So we'll go to this slide. I hope this slide is visible to you.
So,
Yeah.
so the terminal flower were white or purple?
That is a second phenotype. When we take that into consideration, that will become dihybrid cross. As of now, we are talking of only monohybrid cross. We are taking one only one trait at a time. So let's say, for example, terminal flower can be white or purple, or axial flower can be white or purple. We are not looking at the color of the flower as of now. We are only looking at the purity of the breed in terms of where the flower is present, whether axial or terminal.
So can you go back just a second?
Hmm?
So we can okay, no, sorry, fine. Only the we are looking at terminal or cross.
Yeah, so that is one of the most important characteristic of monohybrid cross, right? So let's say instead of terminal or axial flower, we are talking of purple or white flower. That means we are taking monohybrid cross of a trait which is flower color, right? In that case, we will not be bothered where the flowers are located, whether terminal or axial, because we are studying only one trait at a time in monohybrid cross. Yeah, so that is just the difference. So this description will get clear from this diagram here. So now if you look at this parent, they were either having axial flower, purest breed, that is capital AA. Now looking at these two, you should have realized which one is the dominant and which one is the recessive. So capital one we write usually as a dominant one, and the recessive one we write in the small letter. So terminal flowers, small a, axial flowers, capital A, capital A. These were the parent generation, were crossed, that means cross pollinated, and whatever generation that they give next is the F1 generation. So obviously when these will form gamete, it can only form capital A and capital A. When this will form gamete, it can only form small a, small a. I hope this process you are understanding. It does not mean that the rest of the chromosomes they are lost or gone. This means all the other chromosomes along with capital A, that means the axial feature of the flower is being carried in the gamete. Same is the case here. All the other chromosomes along with the axial feature of the flower will be carried in this gamete. In this case, the terminal feature of the flower will be carried in this gamete along with all the other chromosomes, and same is the case here also. Terminal feature of the flower, that is the terminally located flower, that particular gene will be going with these gametes along with all the other chromosomes. That's what it means by these gametes. I hope you are following. If you are not following, please do stop at any time. So these are the gametes. Now, based on the possibility of the combination, let's say one gamete of this individual and the other gamete of this individual. In any of these combination, you will always find one capital A, one small a. That means, let's say this is fusing with this, right? One capital A, small a. Even if this fuses, first gamete fuses with the second gamete of small a, this will still be capital A, small a. So any of the possible combination, only one gamete can go forward, right? It's something simpler, like in case of human also, only one sperm fuses with one ova. In case of plants also, same, only one male gamete will fuse with only one female gamete. So this is the possibility of the gametes produced by individual parents. But out of this, not both will go forward, only one can go forward. Based on that chance, how and which gamete will go forward. So in all these possible permutations and combinations, only possibility of F1 generation is having one dominant allele and one recessive allele. So all these individuals, they will have this phenotype. Now, this genotype, and the phenotype of this will be, they will be all axial flower, because there is a presence of one dominant trait, that is capital A. Recessive will be masked, dominant will be expressed, and because there is capital A, so it will be axial flower, even though there is a presence of recessive allele. Is this part clear, or does anyone have any doubt here?
Sachin, sir,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, in this experiment, so there were the ratio was 3:1. So there were more axial flowers than terminal flowers.
In F1 generation,
Yeah, and even after that, right?
after that, yes. But here, why they have shown only one is because all of these, whatever number of flowers is generated in F1 generation, they will be all same, and that is why they have shown only one. That does not mean that these parents, they have produced only one flower. That is not the indication. Okay.
So, but after that and all, the axial flowers were like the dominant thingy, right?
Axial genotype is the dominant one. Yes, axial allele.
Okay, so if the same experiment was done again and again or something, would the outcome be the same each time?
Exactly. That is what Mendel has proved.
So it would be the same each time.
It would be the same. So let's say if you just keep crossing these two every time, you will always have these individuals. You will have no other possible individuals.
So axial flowers are always the dominant gene thing. But how is that? Why are they always the dominant one?
Because they are getting expressed. See, I told you it is the matter of protein function, right? Which we have not studied as such. So depending on which protein functions and which proteins get broken, that particular proteins which are still intact and still functional, they will show the phenotype. They will do their function, they will do that whatever action they are supposed to do at the molecular level, and they will show a particular phenotype. And that's why they have been dominant.
Okay, so for this particular cross, the proteins have their own functions and everything, and the okay, I got it.
Yeah, so it, like, we haven't studied that molecular mechanism, but in brief, it is the part of the protein function. Because let's say this axial flower feature is coded in a particular gene, and that gene does not directly translate to the feature. It goes through process, like you remember, from DNA to RNA to proteins, and protein does a function. That is a process, and then that protein might interact with some other proteins, and then the phenotype is visible. That is also quite possibility, but we are looking at just the simplistic route.
Okay, last thing.
Mhm.
So in the F1 generation, there were only axial flowers, right? Only they were
Right,
because the dominant one, so there couldn't be any terminal ones for the first generation.
right.
And then after that in like F2, so there
There
was
is one terminal flower which we are yet to see.
okay, so that was like carried across the generation but not expressed, right?
Carried across, correct. That is right.
Okay.
Yeah, I will draw this on the board, because then here it may not be so clear, but let me go through this description, and same thing I will draw on the board. It will become more clear, because then one example we are going through twice with different approaches. I will show you how. So now, so I hope everyone is clear up to F1 generation, right? All the offsprings which are produced from the parents in F1 generation, they were of the same genotype. That is, one dominant and other recessive allele that they had. But the phenotype that they showed, remember the word that I am using very consciously, genotype will have one dominant allele and one recessive allele, that is capital A, small a. But the phenotype it will show will only be dominant, that is axial flower. Yeah, so that was the F1 generation. Now when brother sister cross was done in F1 generation, brother sister cross means, like, obviously, like I said, there was not one flower or one offspring that was generated. There were many which were generated, but all of them, they had same phenotype. So out of those, all those siblings of F1 generation, that is the offsprings of F1 generation, they were crossed with each other. Now this has not to be translated how it is done in human, like brother sisters, they don't mate. Yeah, so that is not to be translated in human. That's a weird analogy, so just letting you know it here. But in case of plants, we can do brother sister cross, that is brother sister breeding of those plants. And obviously from one particular parent, we can get capital A and small a as a gamete, right? So what does this mean is, there will be rest of the chromosomes along with the axial feature of the flower in this gamete, and this gamete will have all the other chromosomes with the terminal feature of the gamete. I hope you are following this. Now small a represents terminal feature, but when these gametes will separate, they will form two different gametes. One is with capital A, one is with small a. That means one is with axial flower, other one is with terminal feature of the flower. Same is the case with the other offspring which was generated in the F1 generation. One will generate with capital A, that is the axial feature, and with the terminal feature, that is the small a. Now when these are crossed with each other, right? Let's say this flower, this gamete being fused with this gamete from the another parent. So it is both capital A, so it will surely generate the axial flower, correct? Now let's say this gamete of this parent will fuse with the other gamete, that is the second gamete of the other parent. It will have capital A and small a, capital A and small a, and that will also have dominant phenotype being expressed, that is the axial flower. Then third possibility is this other gamete. Now this has already made 1 and 2, so this is gone. Now the other possible combination is this gamete which is with the terminal feature meeting with the dominant phenotype, that is the axial flower. It will form capital A, small a. Again the same phenotype, it will still show the axial feature. And then the last possible combination is small a meeting with the small a gamete of the other parent. In that case, both the alleles will be recessive, that is small a, and that is what is forming the terminal flower, and the rest all of the offsprings in F2 generation, they will be axial except one which will be terminal flower. Yeah. Is there any doubt to anyone here? Like I said, I will go back to the board and I will draw those arrows so it becomes more clear. But if at all there is any doubt to anyone, please do ask. And if not, I will shift to board for a minute. Where is spotlight video? Oh, you are getting to see this. Pushers, why is it making so much of noise? Okay, so let me use board now. So like I said, where is the visibility? Make it little up. No, this should be okay. This is the line I have to use. Okay, so let's say in parent generation we had capital A. These were axial flowers crossed with small a, that is terminal flowers. Right? Now I am also writing a genotype, that is both the alleles, and I am also writing a phenotype that it will show or that it will exhibit. So in this case, it's both are recessive allele and they will have purest breed of the all terminal flowers. This is the purest breeds of both alleles being same and will show axial phenotype. Now when these will produce gamete, they can only produce this gamete. Either this will go with the next generation or this allele will go with the next generation. In any which case, it can produce only one type of gamete, that is one feature, right? Ideally, we should write this, but they don't have any difference in terms of which gene, right? Had it been two different alleles, then we write. If it is the same allele, we need not write two like this. But for convenience, we are writing it here. Same will go here. Both these gametes will have these alleles which are recessive. Now, when we are crossing, in F1 generation, whatever we are getting is this combination. So one gamete from this side, other gamete from other side. That is capital A, small a. Now this gamete will fuse with the other gamete. Again, it is capital A, small a. Now I am just writing the alleles as of now. Now this has already made 1 and 2 possible, so that possibility is over. This gamete, it will need or make, that is still the same, and this gamete will meet this one, again capital, so on. So if you look at the genotype in terms of alleles, all the offsprings in F1 generation, they have same genotype. So obviously phenotype will also be same, because A is dominant in every case. All these flowers will be axial. That is axial. All of them. Now I am not writing for them. So all of them will be axial flowers. Now in F1 generation, when you want to go to next generation, that is F2 generation, right? When you are going to cross, let's take any of these two individuals, because they are two all same, and these are called brother sisters because they are generated in one. All of them, they are being produced in one generation, that too from the same parents. Let's say we take any of those two, either these two, these two, these two, or any of them. The gametes that they will produce, let's take this one and the last one is this one and this one. Now you see the difference. Alleles are different. Here alleles were said because parent was homozygous. Here the parent or parent as in F1 generation, this individual is heterozygous because the alleles are different. So the gametes that it will produce will also be different. Homozygous, heterozygous, different allele, same allele. And with other case of this allele, it will also produce capital A and small a. Again, this one is also same, that is heterozygous. So both alleles will be different. Now when you cross this, ideally I should write cross like this. So when I am crossing these two individuals, right, what will happen? Again, possibility of the combination. Now look here. In F1, cross this gamete and the other gamete will meet, it will form capital A, right? We will look at the genotype, phenotype later. Now let's just look at the genotype. That is what alleles are being carried. This gamete will meet the other gamete. It is capital A, small a. Now this gamete of one parent will meet with the one of the gametes, that is this possibility. Now ideally it is small a, capital A, but we never write dominant second, so we always write dominant first. That is capital A, capital small a, and otherwise it will be like this, but we never write like this. Yeah, I hope you are all paying attention. So we always write capital A first or capital letter first. And the last possibility is this gamete meeting with this gamete, that is small a, small a. Now if I write the phenotypes of this, assume this is your purest homozygous and it will have axial flowers. This one is again heterozygous, but because dominant feature is present there, so this will also be axial flower. This is again a heterozygous, so it will still produce axial flowers, axial. And this is homozygous, but for the recessive trait, so this will be terminal, right? And now if you look at the genotype ratio, this is one, you can see this, right? How many AA are being produced? That is homozygous, dominant. So I am writing homozygous, dominant, right? That is 1. Heterozygous, dominant, that is capital A small a, we are getting 2. Heterozygous dominant, we are getting 2. And homozygous recessive, we are getting 1. That is small a, we are getting 1. So that is homozygous recessive. Homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive, heterozygous dominant. So that is the phenotype. So usually at the end, when we say the offsprings that we get in F2 generation from the parent generation, which are homozygous in their purest breed, we always get ratio of 1:2:1. That is homozygous dominant, heterozygous dominant, and 2 homozygous recessive. So this is the overall case 1 of the Mendel's first experiment. Now again, anyone has any doubt? Everyone, have you understood? Janvi? Yes, who is it? Oh, hi, Advai. Yes.
I was asking, so like in every ratio will be the same.
In every such crosses where you are crossing purest homozygous dominant crossed with homozygous recessive, you will always get the same. We will take another example and then we shall see it there. Now this was one example, and same thing is being explained here, just by different, and whatever I wrote on this side. So the ratio, it's not the ration, sorry, the spelling mistake. So the ratio, so this kind of ratio obtained by crossing for 2 different traits of a single characteristic, that is monohybrid ratio. That is what is known as monohybrid ratio, and it will have phenotypic ratio in 3:1. Now phenotypic ratio is because we have 3 axial flowers and only 1 terminal flower. So phenotypic ratio will be 3:1. Genotypic ratio will be 1:2:1, and that is what is written here also. We will have only 1 homozygous dominant, we will have 1 heterozygous dominant, and 1 homozygous recessive. So this will be case in every of purest homozygous cross with 1 single feature. That is the monohybrid ratio. We will see the other example, like I said. But does anyone have
Only an approximate.
Sorry?
It's not the exact ratio. It's like an approximation. No.
No, it is the exact ratio. Where do you see the approximation?
Like let's say if I were to breed 10,000 dogs with, let's say, one.
See, 10,000 dogs, why would you cross? When we think of reproduction as a process, we think of only 1 female and the 1 male.
I'm saying on a large scale, if I do, will I always get this ratio?
Yes. Let's say if for example, if you are talking of 1 female and many males, or many females and 1 male, in even of these cases, that will still be, parents will always be 2 for that particular offspring, right?
Yeah.
For whichever offsprings are generated, the parents will only be 2, 1 male, 1 female. So even if you do it on a mass scale, that will still give you the same genotype and phenotype ratio.
Okay.
Anyone else has any question? And I will give you this as an exercise because this is the most important part. And again, like I said, this is not because it is present in the syllabus also, This is very interesting exercise to do it for ourselves, especially for those who are like color blind and so on. You can trace out what is the genotype of your father and mother or their parents, you know, from both the sides, like maternal grandfather and maternal grandmother, and also on the paternal side, that is from the father side. So you can actually trace back, or you can even go like, of course you don't know your partners yet, but you can still go on to your next generations, how their phenotypes would look like. Yeah, so that is a beautiful exercise to do it in that aspect. Okay, so I guess I'll move on to the second example. Now, in this case, again, that is the case to pure tall plant, that is homozygous dominant, capital T, and a dwarf plant, or I can also say short plant in terms of height, that is homozygous recessive, small t, and the progenies that were generated in F1 and F2, they are shown here. So let's say parent generation, capital T, and the other parent will have homozygous recessive, small t. So when this parent will produce a gamete, it will be two gametes, but then they will be all same. So that is one with capital T. Even here also they will also produce two gametes, but they both will be same. So we are just taking small t. So when they will fuse, what we will get is ultimately this capital T, small t. That is F1 generation, and this offspring will have a phenotype of the dominant allele being present here, that is the tall plant. So that is F1 generation, and of course, like I said, it is only one representation that is being shown. But when we have many offsprings and when the brother sister cross are being done for F2 generation, what we get, so again genotype is written here, all are TT, that is heterozygous dominant, and phenotype is all are tall. So when they will produce gamete, they can either produce gamete like capital T, small t, and the other parent will produce capital T, small t. Remember, these two are brother sisters, right, in this generation. So when they will produce gametes, they will produce these way, and the possibility of the combination is being shown here. These are the four possible combinations that we get. So let's say these capital T meet, that will form a tall plant, that is homozygous dominant. When this small t will meet the other gamete of capital T, it will form capital T, small t, that is heterozygous dominant. This gamete, capital T, will meet with the small t of the other parent, capital T, small t, that is again a heterozygous dominant, and flower will still be tall in all three cases. And in this case, small t of this parent to small t of the other parent will form homozygous recessive, that will be a dwarf plant, that is the short plant. So genotype that we get is capital TT, capital T, small t, and small tt. So 1:2:1, and the phenotype we get is 3 tall plant to 1 dwarf plant. So 3:1.
Sachin sir?
Example explaining different phenotype. Yes.
Okay, so the ratio 3:1.
Hmm?
So obviously for the F1 generation that won't be there because it's only the dominant gene.
Yeah,
But
correct.
for F2 it'll be that ratio.
Hmm?
And also for F3, or because for the third generation it depends which ones you
Exactly. So it doesn't speak of, because in F1 generation you cannot calculate a ratio because they are all same,
right.
right? There is no comparison there. In F3, like after F2, which of the offsprings you take, the ratio will still be similar. Similar in the sense, depending on, let's say now you take this one, first one and the fourth one, that is homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive, which is the same situation like here, correct? Now in that case, you should get F4 should be like this, F5 should be like this.
So the same thing will repeat.
Same thing will repeat. Now
So it's
let's
like
say
even odd, right? It's odd and even. sort of.
Sorry,
So
say
like as you said, in F3, we'll once again have the same thing.
in F3 as in when you start parent generation from here.
Yeah,
And you're taking
But,
these.
but if
yeah,
you don't do the first and last, if you match the TT capital with T capital T small,
So,
first two.
right. So we will do all those possible combination on the board. So like I hope. Oh no, we are like we are losing time. But yeah, let's look at the third case, and maybe in the next class we can do that as an exercise, or also you can try it out at home. Now you know the gametes has to be separated, or the alleles has to be separated, and you try all the possible combinations, and then you send it to me, and then we will look at it. So that you can do it as an exercise, but we will do it in the next class for sure. Okay, so that was the second. Again, same example is shown here in just a different representation with the tall and dwarf plant. So I will not go here. It's just a different representation. That's it. In the third case, again monohybrid cross, homozygous parents for homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive. Here, just the characteristic that we took is the rounded seed or the wrinkled seed. So rounded seed is the dominant phenotype. So capital R, wrinkled seed is the small r, small r. Again, F1 generation, they will all produce 4 offspring in all 4 possible combinations rather, and all of them they will have same genotype and also the phenotype, that is they will all be rounded seed. Yeah, so these are all rounded seed. Now when the brother sister cross are done for these, what you will get is one homozygous dominant, that is capital R, two heterozygous dominant, that is capital R, small r, they will still be rounded, and the last one, that is the fourth possible combination, is recessive, that is homozygous recessive, and that particular seed will be a wrinkled seed, right? So that is just, these are the 3 different cases, and again like I said, you can do this for all these 7 cases. These ones you can do it with yellow and green, you can do it with inflated and constricted, you can do it with green and yellow of the pod color and so on. So you can do it for each of these traits, and Mendel has actually done for all these different traits for a monohybrid cross, and then in dihybrid cross all the possible combinations. So you can imagine how much work he would have done by then, and that too without use of much technology and so on. Yeah, so that is the monohybrid cross in Mendel's experiment. I guess I will stop here. I will take, if you have